Imagine your body hurtling through the cosmic void at 670 million miles per hour, racing toward the universe's absolute speed barrier. At these unimaginable velocities, your flesh becomes elastic like stretched dough, temporal reality turns hostile, and the fundamental laws of existence begin crumbling around you. We're about to explore collapsing space-time where your mass becomes limitless, observe celestial bodies morphing into lethal energy beams, and uncover why achieving light velocity could completely destroy your identity. Those fascinated by mind-warping extreme physics should definitely engage with this content and follow for more extraordinary adventures across the universe. Brace yourself for what's coming. The moment you activate the propulsion system, immediate consequences flood your being. Your physical form starts enduring something no human has ever experienced and lived to describe: the relentless pursuit of light's maximum speed. Accelerating beyond 100 million miles per hour, then surging past 200 million, triggers bizarre transformations in your corporeal existence. From your viewpoint within the vessel, normalcy persists completely. Examining your hands, arms, and legs reveals identical appearances to earthbound conditions. However, if theoretical observers on our planet could monitor your progress through an impossibly advanced telescope, they would witness absolutely horrifying changes. Your anatomy begins elongating in your travel direction, like candy being manipulated by unseen forces. This phenomenon, termed length contraction, operates inversely for external watchers. While you maintain normal sensations, they observe you becoming increasingly elongated with every moment. Reaching half of light's velocity makes you appear 50% longer than baseline measurements. Achieving 90% light speed stretches your form to double your original dimensions. Your skull pushes forward while your feet trail behind, creating a human strand shooting across space. Consider viewing yourself in a distortion mirror, except this mirror represents space-time's actual fabric. Increasing velocity causes increasingly dramatic spatial warping of your appearance to distant observers. Your width and height stay constant, but your length expands to impossible proportions. Standing 6 feet tall normally might translate to appearing 12 feet long horizontally at extreme velocities. Einstein's special relativity provides the mathematical framework governing these relationships. As your speed nears light's ultimate limit, stretching effects approach infinite values. At 99% light velocity, you appear almost 10 times your normal length. At 99.9%, you extend beyond 20 times your standard dimensions. These numbers increase exponentially, climbing toward impossible extremes. The truly reality-bending aspect emerges when you experience reverse effects on everything surrounding you. Looking back toward Earth reveals our entire world compressed to like a flattened disk. Luna appears squashed. Our sun resembles a cosmic token instead of a spherical body. Every stellar object, each galaxy, all universal matter behind you gets compressed into paper-thin profiles. Meanwhile, objects approaching from ahead stretch dramatically beyond normal proportions. Spacecraft traveling towards your position might appear hundreds of times longer than actual measurements. Space installations resemble impossibly extended cylinders. Even asteroids become needle-thin projectiles racing toward your coordinates. Your internal anatomy experiences identical stretching effects, yet maintains standard functionality from your reference perspective. Your cardiovascular system continues regular rhythms. Your respiratory organs still process oxygen efficiently. Your neural networks maintain clear cognitive function. But illogical laws persist normally within your extended body, despite external observers potentially panicking at your alien transformation. This establishes a core paradox of light-speed exploration. You feel absolutely normal while appearing completely extraterrestrial to everyone else. Your body becomes a living contradiction, simultaneously standard and impossibly distorted depending on observational perspective. However, compared to temporal effects, this physical elongation seems trivial. Your timepiece maintains regular intervals as you rocket through space, but extraordinary changes affect time's fundamental nature. While seconds pass consistently in your cockpit, the external universe begins operating like slow-motion cinema. Time dilation transforms you into an involuntary temporal voyager. At 50% light velocity, each hour you experience equals 1 hour and 9 minutes for Earth-based individuals. This difference appears minor initially, but expands dramatically with increasing speed. At 90% light velocity, every hour you live equals 2 hours and 18 minutes for everyone else. Time literally flows more than twice as rapidly for remaining humanity. Visualize monitoring a live communication link with Earth. Initially, conversations proceed normally, but acceleration causes people to speak progressively slower. Their movements become lethargic. Blinking occurs in slow motion. What feels real-time to you appears like cinema running at half speed, then quarter speed, then even more reduced rates. At 99% light velocity, effects become extreme. Every single day you experience equals 1 complete week on Earth. Taking a 1-hour rest period means 3.5 hours pass for everyone else. Consuming a 20-minute meal causes over an hour to vanish for people back home. Your biological processes operate at standard rates, but time itself flows differently around your existence. Einstein's famous equations provide mathematical foundations for this phenomenon. Time dilation follows precise formulas involving velocity difference square roots. Approaching light speed causes exponential number growth. At 99.9% light velocity, each day you live equals almost 22 days for Earth. A single year of your expedition spans over 21 years of regular temporal flow. This creates devastating emotional ramifications. Sending greetings to Earth means months pass for family and friends before you anticipate responses. They experience seasonal changes, birthday celebrations, major life events, while you've only lived through days or weeks. Your communication device displays missed contacts and messages accumulating at impossible rates. Text conversations become heartbreaking as timestamps jump forward by hours between your responses. Social media streams scroll through months of content in apparent minutes. Digital connections to Earth become windows showing life accelerating past you. Even more disturbing, you observe loved ones aging through video communications. Parents develop silver hair between conversations. Children grow taller in apparent fast forward. Pets experience complete lifespans during what feels like brief journeys for you. People you cherish live full existences while you remain essentially suspended in time. Your body ages normally from your perspective, requiring sleep, nutrition, and exercise on regular schedules. Compared to Earth, you become nearly immortal. Diseases potentially fatal in normal time barely impact you. Medical conditions requiring years to develop happen in apparent slow motion. This temporal distortion creates fundamental isolation. You exist in different temporal reality than everyone else throughout the universe. Your experiences occur at different rates than theirs. Communication becomes nearly impossible across such vast temporal differences. Yet this temporal nightmare becomes insignificant compared to what happens when light itself transforms as you rocket forward at incredible velocities. Simultaneously, stellar objects behind your position begin shifting from brilliant white to golden yellow, progressing through orange tones, then deep crimson, ultimately vanishing into infrared spectrums beyond human perception. This phenomenon generates a breathtaking visual corridor surrounding your vessel. Envision racing through a chromatic cylinder where forward walls blaze with intense azure flames while rear walls diminish into faint ruby embers. The stellar landscape becomes living art crafted by universal principles with you as the instrument moving across this cosmic masterpiece. Reaching 90% of light's velocity causes this chromatic tunnel to contract dramatically. Most forward stars display blue, white, or violet characteristics, while rear stars exhibit orange or red properties. Recognizable constellations transform beyond standard stellar appearances. The Big Dipper might radiate azure brilliance ahead of your trajectory, while Orion dissolves into crimson behind you. Even more remarkably, at 99% pleasant light velocity, these chromatic effects become genuinely extraterrestrial. Forward stars shift so dramatically toward blue that they enter ultraviolet frequencies. Your vision might perceive them as blazing white points, but instruments reveal they've transcended normal visible radiation. Rear stars shift so extensively toward red that they fade into infrared, becoming invisible to natural sight, yet detectable as thermal sources. The cosmic microwave background radiation, typically invisible, starts becoming perceptible as you approach light's ultimate speed. This ancient luminosity from the universe's birth gets blue shifted forward into visible frequencies. You literally begin observing creation's afterglow as a subtle azure radiance ahead of your craft. Your vessel's measurement systems malfunction, attempting to analyze these shifted wavelengths. Radio transmissions from Earth stretch into increasingly extended waves behind you, making communication progressively challenging. Solar illumination shifts toward red, making our planetary system behind you appear dimmer and more alien with each moment. This rainbow phenomenon creates navigational obstacles too. Familiar reference points vanish as their colors change beyond recognition. Star maps become worthless when everything shifts to different wavelengths. You navigate through a universe bearing no resemblance to the one you departed. This cosmic illumination display reveals fundamental truths about light's nature and motion. You're not merely traveling through spaces, you're experiencing how movement affects electromagnetic radiation that enables universal observation. These magnificent chromatic changes conceal a darker reality about what occurs to your physical mass. Something impossible begins affecting your body as you rocket toward light's ultimate velocity. You start gaining weight without acquiring any physical matter. Your mass increases exponentially with speed, growing toward impossible infinite weight threatening to shatter physics' fundamental laws. At ordinary speeds, this effect remains undetectable. Operating vehicles or flying aircraft adds negligible mass to your form. However, approaching significant fractions of light speed makes mass increase substantial, then extreme. At 90% light velocity, you weigh more than double your standard amount. At 99%, you weigh over 7 times normal. At 99.9%, you weigh more than 22 times your original mass. Consider carrying invisible loads that continuously become heavier. You don't sense the additional weight because everything accelerates together, but the universe treats you as carrying enormous burdens. Your spacecraft requires exponentially more energy, pushing your increasingly heavy form forward, resembling attempts to accelerate trucks that magically gain cargo. Mathematical relationships follow Einstein's mass-energy equivalence principles. As your velocity nears light speed, your relativistic mass approaches infinity. At 99.99% light velocity, you weigh over 70 times normal. At 99.999%, you weigh over 200 times normal. Numbers climb exponentially toward impossible infinite mass. This mass expansion creates fundamental barriers to achieving light speed. Every additional mile per hour requires exponentially more energy. Accelerating from 90% to 95% light speed consumes more energy than accelerating from 0 to 90%. Final percentage points demand energy exceeding stellar output totals. Your enhanced mass affects everything surrounding you. Your gravitational field strengthens, potentially influencing nearby objects. Particles and radiation respond to your amplified gravity. You become a more massive entity without adding physical material to your anatomy. It resembles becoming a black hole without changing size. Energy requirements become astronomical. Accelerating a 200-pound person to 99% light speed requires energy equivalent to several nuclear power plants' total annual output. Reaching 99.9% requires energy equivalent to large nations. Actually achieving light speed would demand infinite energy, exceeding everything existing throughout the entire universe. This establishes a cruel paradox. The closer you approach your light speed objective, the more impossible that goal becomes. Each percentage point requires exponentially more energy than previous ones. You approach an asymptotic limit, never quite reachable. Regardless of applied power, your body experiences this mass increase through strange ways. While you don't feel heavier, your inertia increases dramatically. Changing direction becomes significantly more difficult. Your momentum grows to enormous proportions. Crashing into something would release energy equivalent to nuclear weapons. Even electromagnetic radiation from your anatomy changes. Your thermal signature increases due to higher mass energy. Radio waves you emit get affected by your enhanced gravitational field. You become a more significant object in the universe's gravitational landscape simply through rapid movement. This mass increase reveals why light speed represents absolute barriers for objects possessing mass. Photons can travel at light speed because they lack rest mass. However, anything with even minimal mass faces infinite mass increase approaching that ultimate velocity. While your mass grows towards infinity, your physical dimensions shrink towards zero. From Earth-based observers' perspective, your body contracts dramatically in travel direction, becoming thinner until you resemble paper-thin silhouettes racing through space. Length contraction occurs automatically approaching light speed. At 50% light velocity, external observers see you compressed to approximately 87% of normal length. At 90% light speed, you appear less than half your original thickness. At 99% light speed, you look compressed to merely 14% of normal, thinner than cardboard. Visualize yourself as playing cards flying edge first through space. From your spacecraft perspective, everything feels completely normal. Mirror reflections show regular faces, normal body proportions, usual height and width. External observers see something drastically different. Human beings flattened like photographs racing past at incredible velocities. Contraction affects your entire anatomy uniformly. Head, torso, arms, and legs all compress by identical ratios. Standing 6 feet tall normally, outside observers might see you as only 8 inches thick while maintaining full height and width. You become living posters of yourself, impossibly thin, yet maintaining normal features. This compression follows precise mathematical laws. Contraction factors depend on square root relationships involving your velocity. As speed increases, compression becomes more severe, approaching zero thickness at light speed itself. Nearing light's absolute velocity, compression reaches nearly 100%. At 99.9% light speed, you appear less than 5% of standard thickness. At 99.99%, you compress beyond 1% minus thinner than tissue paper. Your vessel undergoes identical compression. A 100-foot spacecraft might appear merely 14 feet long to distant observers at 99% light velocity. Crew compartments, propulsion systems, and equipment all compress proportionally. From space, your craft resembles a flattened coin rather than three-dimensional architecture. Remarkably, this compression exclusively affects length in travel direction, leaving width and height unchanged. You maintain normal profiles when viewed laterally, but appear impossibly thin from front or rear perspectives. The universe essentially squeezes you through cosmic machinery affecting only one dimension. Compression generates optical phenomena for external observers. Your movements appear bizarrely distorted as your thin profile races forward. Turning sideways makes you seemingly expand to regular dimensions, then flatten again facing forward. You transform into a shape-shifting entity defying standard visual expectations. Internal anatomy compresses alongside everything else, yet continues operating normally from your reference frame. Your compressed cardiovascular system still circulates blood effectively. Flattened respiratory organs still process oxygen. Squeezed neural tissue still maintains clear cognition. Biology adapts to compressed environments without functional loss. Length contraction unveils fundamental aspects of space itself. Space isn't fixed scenery, now it's flexible material responding to motion. Rapid movement through space causes space itself to contract around you, generating compression effects. You're not merely traversing space, you're actively warping it. Effects become reciprocal too. Just as external observers see you compressed, you observe the remaining universe compressed in your travel direction. Earth appears flattened like pastry. Luna resembles a thin coin. Even galaxies millions of light-years distant appear compressed into narrow bands. However, spatial compression becomes trivial compared to impossible energy requirements ahead. Your spacecraft's fuel indicators tell terrifying stories as you approach light speed. Energy demanded for each additional mile per hour grows exponentially, soon requiring more power than entire star systems generate. What began as reasonable energy expenditure transforms into impossible cosmic demands. Accelerating to 10% light speed requires substantial yet manageable energy, equivalent to multiple nuclear facilities operating for years. Reaching 50% light speed demands energy comparable to small nations' total annual consumption. The energy curve grows increasingly steep, climbing toward impossible heights. At 90% light velocity, acceleration requires energy equivalent to major countries' complete power output. Your spacecraft needs combined energy production from hundreds of nuclear reactors merely to maintain speed, excluding further acceleration. Numbers become staggering, millions of megawatts flowing continuously through your engines. Consider pushing shopping carts that magically gain weight with each step. Initially, you push effortlessly, then greater effort becomes necessary. Soon you strain with maximum strength. Eventually, carts weigh more than trucks, then buildings, then mountains. Energy demands follow this impossible exponential curve. At 99% light speed, your energy requirements surpass our sun's total annual output. Every acceleration second demands more energy than our star produces hourly. Your engines consume power equivalent to stellar fusion reactions, transforming your spacecraft into artificial stars burning through impossible fuel amounts. Mathematics reveal why light speed represents absolute barriers. Reaching precisely light speed would require infinite energy more than exists throughout the observable universe. All energy from every star, galaxy, black hole, and cosmic power source wouldn't provide sufficient fuel for that final light speed push. Your spacecraft becomes an energy creature, consuming resources at impossible rates. Conventional rocket fuel becomes laughably inadequate. Chemical rockets couldn't provide enough energy, reaching even 1% light speed. Nuclear fusion offers greater power yet falls short of exponential demands. You need theoretical energy sources not yet existing. Even matter-antimatter annihilation, the most efficient energy conversion possible, struggles with requirements. Converting entire planets into pure energy might provide sufficient power for brief acceleration periods at extreme speeds. Sustaining 99.9% light speed would require converting complete solar systems into fuel. Energy demands create thermal problems too. All power flowing through engines generates temperatures exceeding stellar cores. Your spacecraft needs cooling systems beyond current imagination. Waste heat alone could vaporize nearby asteroids or melt spacecraft components. Life support systems become energy consumers too. At extreme speeds, maintaining breathable atmosphere, comfortable temperatures, and artificial gravity requires enormous power. Simple tasks like operating computers or communication systems demand energy equivalent to entire cities' electrical grids. Energy requirements reveal fundamental limits built into universal structure. Nature seems designed, preventing massive objects from reaching light speed. Exponential energy curves act like cosmic speed limit enforcement, making light speed theoretically possible yet practically impossible. Even solving energy problems creates new challenges. Storing sufficient fuel for journeys becomes impossible. Your spacecraft would need fuel tanks larger than planets carrying enough energy. Fuel itself adds mass, requiring even greater energy for acceleration. However, even somehow overcoming these energy barriers makes time itself your greatest adversary. Approaching light speed causes time dilation effects growing so extreme that you witness the universe's entire future unfolding in what feels like hours or days. Billions of years of cosmic evolution flash past your windows like time-lapse cinema running at impossible speeds. At 99.9% light velocity, every day you experience equals 22 days for the remaining universe. At 99.99%, every day equals 70 days for everyone else. Ratios grow exponentially, approaching ultimate speed limits, creating temporal effects challenging human comprehension. Envision watching Earth through rear cameras as temporal acceleration intensifies. Initially, you observe normal day-night cycles. Then days start flashing past like strobe illumination. Seasons change in apparent minutes. Years compress into hours. Decades flash like seconds. Your home planet becomes a spinning sphere where continents shift, ice ages arrive and depart, and civilizations rise and fall in apparent fast forward. Our sun ages rapidly before your vision. You observe our star slowly expanding and brightening as billions of years compress into your brief expedition. Solar flares erupt and subside within seconds. Solar coloration shifts from yellow through orange to red, entering giant phases. Eventually, you witness stellar death, either exploding as nova or collapsing into white dwarf during what feels like brief afternoons. Human civilization experiences its complete future during your journey. You observe cities growing and vanishing, technologies advancing beyond recognition, possibly witnessing humanity spreading to other star systems or evolving into something unrecognizable. Our species' entire story from your departure until extinction or transcendence plays across your spacecraft's monitors. Other stars follow similar patterns. You observe stellar births in nearby nebula, watch massive stars exploding as supernovas, witness binary star systems merging and creating gravitational waves. The galaxy slowly rotates, spiral arms shifting and reforming over cosmic timescales. What astronomers study over entire careers, you witness directly in compressed time. Even more dramatically, you might observe the universe's eventual heat death. Stars gradually extinguish as hydrogen fuel depletes. Galaxies drift apart through cosmic expansion. Black holes slowly evaporate through Hawking radiation. The universe grows cold and dark as entropy increases toward maximum. You become the last conscious observer of cosmic destiny. This temporal acceleration creates profound psychological challenges. You experience loneliness from outliving everything and everyone you've known. Your departure from Earth becomes permanent in absolute senses. By potential return times, Earth itself might cease existing. You become temporal refugees with no homes for return. Your biological processes continue at normal speeds from your perspective. Compared to universal time, you become nearly immortal, watching cosmic history unfold while remaining essentially unchanged. Diseases potentially affecting normal humans across decades occur in apparent moments for the external universe. Your metabolism, aging, and cellular repair function at your local temporal rate, while the cosmos ages surrounding you. Communication with Earth becomes utterly impossible. Once significant temporal dilation commences, radio transmissions you send require normal travel time, but upon arrival, centuries or millennia might have elapsed for recipients. Your messages become archaeological relics from distant past rather than real-time correspondence. Temporal acceleration unveils fundamental space-time aspects. You're not merely traversing space again, you're moving through time at different rates than remaining reality. Your expedition becomes temporal travel into distant futures, with zero possibility of returning to your original time period. While time accelerates around you, light itself begins exhibiting impossible behaviors. Racing toward light's ultimate velocity, the familiar stellar dome surrounding your vessel starts transforming into something resembling an illuminated corridor. Stars ahead concentrate into increasingly narrow cones of brilliant radiance, while rear stars fade into absolute darkness. The universe reshapes itself around your motion, generating cosmic tunnel effects defying normal perception. This phenomenon, termed relativistic beaming, occurs because light rays compress in your travel direction. Consider operating flashlights while rotating rapidly. Mike's beams appear bending and concentrating ahead of your position. At extreme velocities, effects become dramatic and disorienting. At 50% light velocity, forward stars appear slightly brighter while rear stars dim noticeably. Changes seem subtle initially, resembling brightness adjustments on display screens. Accelerating further intensifies effects rapidly. Directly ahead, stars grow brilliant while lateral and rear stars fade toward invisibility. At 90% light velocity, tunnel effects become obvious and magnificent. Forward stars concentrate into bright circular regions, approximately 60 degrees wide, resembling cosmic telescopes pointed ahead. These luminous circles contain most visible light in your universe, compressed and intensified through your motion. Everything beyond these circles fades to near darkness. At 99% light velocity, tunnels narrow dramatically to perhaps 20 degrees, resembling long tubes. Ahead, stars appear incredibly bright, their illumination concentrated into narrow cones. Meanwhile, your spacecraft's sides and rear exist in near-total darkness. You're flying through universes that are mostly black with brilliant spotlights ahead. Effects create illusions of flying through tunnels constructed from starlight. Concentrated stellar illumination ahead forms radiant walls while rear darkness creates enclosed space sensations. Your vessel seems traveling through cosmic subway tunnels with stars forming walls and ceilings. Light concentration affects navigation dramatically. Traditional star charts become worthless when most stars vanish from view. Familiar constellations disappear into rear darkness. Only directly ahead stars remain visible, compressed into unrecognizable patterns. You navigate through instruments rather than visual landmarks. Tunnel effects also amplify chromatic shifting phenomena described previously. Concentrated forward starlight appears not only brighter but shifts dramatically toward blue and violet wavelengths. Your tunnel becomes azure fire tubes with intense stars appearing almost white-hot from compressed illumination. Your spacecraft's cameras struggle with extreme contrast. Forward cameras become overwhelmed by intense light, requiring filters or reduced sensitivity. Rear cameras detect almost nothing, displaying mostly empty space dotted with dim red points. Side cameras capture transition zones where stars gradually fade from visible to invisible. Even artificial lighting behaves strangely. Your vessel's running lights appear normal to you but create dramatic beaming effects for external observers. Forward-pointing lights concentrate into intense beams while sideways or rear-pointing lights spread and dim. Your craft becomes invisible from behind yet blazingly bright when viewed head-on. Psychological effects prove disorienting. Humans evolve seeing light from all directions, providing spatial awareness and depth perception. Flying through universes where illumination only comes from ahead creates sensory deprivation. You lose normal visual cues about surroundings and spatial position. These light tunnels reveal fundamental electromagnetic radiation and motion properties. Light doesn't merely illuminate your expedition mid-chase. It actively responds to your velocity, creating new patterns and behaviors. You're not just observing universes, you're experiencing how motion transforms light's very nature. However, this concentrated starlight conceals deadly secrets about radiation exposure. The magnificent starlight tunnels ahead hide terrifying dangers. Approaching light speed transforms every hydrogen atom, cosmic dust particle, and light photon in your path into lethal high-energy radiation capable of killing within seconds. Peaceful space vacuums become shooting galleries with your spacecraft as targets. At ordinary speeds, cosmic particles pose minimal threats to space travelers. Spacecraft shielding easily deflects most radiation. Approaching light speed makes these identical harmless particles gain enormous energy from your perspective. Simple hydrogen atoms, normally no threat whatsoever, become equivalent to high-energy cosmic rays capable of DNA damage. Consider running through gentle rain showers versus driving through identical rain at highway speeds. Raindrops feeling soft while walking become painful windshield impacts at 60 miles per hour. Imagine identical effects magnified millions of times. Cosmic particles barely registering at low speeds become devastating projectiles at near-light velocities. Energy increases follow identical relativistic formulas affecting your mass and time. At 90% light speed, path particles carry more than double normal energy. At 99% light speed, they carry over 7 times standard energy. At 99.9%, particles become more than 20 times more energetic than usual. Even individual photons become dangerous. Normal starlight carries minimal energy. You can observe most stars safely with naked eyes. Blue-shifted starlight compressed through your tunnel vision effects transforms into gamma rays and X-rays. Beautiful azure light tunnels ahead become concentrated lethal radiation beams flowing directly toward your spacecraft. Shielding requirements become impossible to meet. Protecting against normal cosmic radiation requires several inches of aluminum or lead. Deflecting relativistic particles demands shielding thicker than entire spacecraft. You'd need lead walls several feet thick, stopping most energetic particles from reaching cabins. Interstellar medium, normally empty space, becomes continuous bombardment zones. Every cubic meter of supposedly empty space contains several hydrogen atoms and other particles. At extreme speeds, you encounter millions of these atoms per second, each carrying enormous energy. Your spacecraft experiences continuous impacts resembling flight through hailstorms of atomic bullets. Even worse, your motion creates secondary radiation. High-energy particles striking shielding create particle showers through nuclear reactions. Protective armor becomes particle accelerators, generating new radiation forms inside supposedly safe cabins. Shielding meant protecting you starts creating additional dangers. Radiation effects on your anatomy prove catastrophic. High-energy particles damage DNA, destroy cellular structures, and disrupt nervous system functions. At extreme speeds, radiation doses prove lethal within minutes or hours. Your expedition to explore universes ironically exposes you to more radiation than exists anywhere else throughout cosmos. Electronics face similar dangers. Computer processors, navigation systems, and life support equipment all suffer radiation-induced errors and failures. Identical particles threatening your biology also threaten your spacecraft's operational ability. Systems designed operating in normal space radiation environments fail rapidly under relativistic bombardment. The ultimate irony emerges clearly. Your quest to reach light speed and explore cosmic mysteries becomes self-defeating. The faster you travel, the more hostile the universe becomes. Space itself transforms from empty vacuum into deadly radiation fields. Stars change from beautiful distant lights into concentrated death rays. The journey meant to expand human knowledge instead creates conditions more lethal than anything naturally occurring. Your spacecraft becomes a tomb racing through increasingly hostile environments at impossible speeds, experiencing compressed time while being bombarded by lethal radiation, approaching a speed limit that physics forbids you from reaching. The universe seems designed to prevent exactly what you're attempting means, as if light speed represents not just a barrier but a warning that some boundaries should never be crossed. In pursuing the ultimate velocity, you discover the ultimate truth about our cosmic home. It's perfectly calibrated to support life at normal speeds, but becomes increasingly deadly as you push toward absolute limits. Light speed isn't just unreachable miters, it's a cosmic death sentence that transforms the peaceful universe into your executioner. This relentless radiation barrage triggers powerful electromagnetic disturbances across your ship's structure. High-speed particles colliding with the hull create surges of electrical currents, generating magnetic fields capable of overwhelming sensitive equipment and damaging crucial onboard systems. Every second, your craft endures artificial electromagnetic storms born from its insane velocity through the void. The bombardment by radiation exposes yet another unbreakable wall on the road to light speed. Fixing the energy and mass dilemmas would be meaningless if your journey became unlivable due to such lethal conditions. At every turn, nature reveals more obstacles, layers of cosmic safeguard, making superluminal travel unreachable for anything burdened by real mass. Even as you confront particles transformed into bullets, time itself nearly stalls inside your vessel. Your cells quietly continue their biological rhythms in isolation, but compared to the rest of creation you exist as nearly ageless. The same time warping that makes centuries flash by outside your window brings your aging process almost to a standstill, granting you the kind of longevity humans have fantasized about for ages, remaining youthful as civilizations rise and fall beyond your reach. Biological clocks inside your body continue ticking at their usual tempo. Your heart maintains its beat, lungs keep cycling air, and the mind processes each thought in real time. Hunger returns at its typical interval. You still need regular sleep, and fatigue strikes after standardized periods of activity. Inside your zone of reference, physiology behaves just like it always has. Yet, measured against universal time, the pace of your aging borders on the impossible. Pushing past 99% light speed, a year might pass for you while more than 20 years fly by for everyone back home. At 99.9%, you celebrate just one birthday per 70 years of cosmic progression. From your vantage point, life is lived at a crawl, while everywhere else, time races like a never-ending stream. Cellular activity, DNA repair, and metabolic cycles all unfold as they always did locally, but the universe sees these same processes as frozen, barely advancing at all. The effects trickle down even to your DNA. Telomeres, those microscopic caps that manage aging, shorten at your regular pace. Yet for the rest of reality, even this microscopic loss becomes invisible. Damage that would normally build up over decades happens instantly from the viewpoint of a stationary observer, but your enhanced DNA repair machinery has ample opportunity to correct errors before they manifest. Under these conditions, chronic diseases simply never gain a foothold. Cancerous cells may begin dividing, but your trip is so swift with respect to cosmic time that they can't intensify quickly enough to be a threat. Common degenerative illnesses which need years or decades to worsen may never truly start. Neurological wear slows as well. Neurones suffer almost zero cumulative stress, and your brain, memory, and ability to learn all proceed on their familiar schedule. Physically, you remain younger than ever, as wrinkles barely form and hair color refuses to fade. Fitness remains steady throughout your journey. You might even be in better shape than you were when you started. Yet, this nearly permanent youth brings heavy emotional burdens. You watch everything outside your windows race forward. New stars forming, others dying, civilizations blossoming and vanishing, while you experience only weeks or months as subjective time. The world you left behind grows unfamiliar at impossible speed. Everywhere around you, time surges and history unfolds, but you're immune, fixed inside your slow-motion frame. Though your nutritional needs continue as usual for you, they stand in stark contrast to what's happening universally. A cache of food that would last a year back on Earth may now stretch across decades or even longer in universal time, making survival at these speeds incredibly resource efficient. Human metabolism recalibrates to the bizarre tempo, and physiology proves its resilience. Time, space, and biology merge here in unexpected ways. Even basic cellular processes depend not just on time itself, but on your speed and reference frame within the universe. Aging transforms from a predictable march to something relative, fluid, manipulated by motion through space-time. If you ever manage to return, you might find yourself decades or centuries younger compared to those who stayed behind. You'd be a traveler arriving from the past, immune to time's erosion. But there's a harsh twist, the final absolute divide between you and a familiar life. No matter how resilient your body, communication with Earth slowly slips away. Radio signals turn from messages to distant echoes, artifacts of a world you can never interact with directly again. This division isn't abrupt. It grows slowly, then seals itself permanently. At first, your outgoing transmissions are merely delayed by hours or days. Yet as the distance grows, so does the gap. Soon responses return after months, then years, and eventually lifetimes. Real conversations become impossible. Exchanges turn to monologues separated by silent waiting, stories from one epoch sent to another, never truly received. Eventually, time dilation erects an unbridgeable wall. Messages you send may travel at the speed of light, but by the time they finally reach Earth, years, even centuries will have slipped past for recipients, while only days transpire for you. Routine updates and urgent reports transform into historical footnotes. By the time they arrive, their meaning and context belong to a lost age. This isn't simply inconvenient, it's existential. You might send a greeting, but that message won't be read until entire generations have shifted. Loved ones will age and die, governments will rise and disappear, and missions may be cancelled long before even a simple hello reaches home. The exchange of information becomes as meaningless as shouting into void. The world beyond your reach changes, moves on, vanishes before there's ever a chance for reply. On top of everything, the Doppler effect won't help. As you race away, outgoing messages shift deeper and deeper into the red spectrum, eventually dropping out of detectable radio frequencies. Incoming messages, blue shifted by relative motion, might arrive at inaudible pitches, impossible for your equipment to process. Even directional beams miss the Earth, as relativistic beaming concentrates signals in ways no current technology can control. And if your systems manage to aim signals just right, their content would be nearly useless. Messages offering crucial assistance or technical data would only arrive long after you solved any problems yourself or after you'd succumbed to them. Earth's attempts to reach out would vanish into cosmic silence. Their frequencies, delivery angles, and timing would fail to bridge the vast new gulf. Your receivers suffer the same fate. Help from Earth, if it arrives at all, would be so warped by both timing and frequency shifts as to be unreadable, intangible, or just too late. The loneliness of this reality becomes overwhelming. Humans have always needed each other for comfort, survival, and meaning. In this new world at the edge of physics, you are the only witness and participant, separated absolutely from everyone you ever knew. You become the wanderer in a cosmic infinity, forever young while everything you loved fades away into the unreachable horizon. Complete disconnection from everyone you've ever known unleashes profound psychological torment. Unlike anything experienced before, you exist as the most isolated being in creation. Billions of people live throughout the galaxy, yet none can reach you. Your craft's computer systems preserve final transmissions from Earth, becoming digital monuments to a vanished epoch. These recordings represent your sole link to humanity, conversations from people long deceased before you even received their words. You carry phantom voices from a world that ceased existing. This communication collapse exposes the ultimate cost of extreme velocity. Physical separation can be conquered through sufficient energy and duration, but temporal separation constructs permanent walls no technology can breach. You exchange contact with entire human civilization for the privilege of exploring creation at impossible speeds. While Earth disappears beyond reach, space-time itself begins contorting around your position. Reality bends as you near light's absolute limit, generating bubbles of warped space-time surrounding your vessel. Familiar geometric principles collapse as space compresses, time warps, and universal fabric twists into inconceivable configurations. You transform into a moving distortion within cosmic medium, rippling space-time like stones cast into still water. Your spacecraft occupies the center of this distortion field, where space and time obey different rules than everywhere else throughout creation. Distances contract in travel direction, while expanding laterally. Time flows at your local rate, while accelerating dramatically for external observers. You transport your own pocket of altered reality across the cosmos. Visualize space-time as flexible material stretched across the universe. Your high-speed motion creates moving depressions in this material, with space-time flowing around your craft like liquid around moving vessels. Increasing velocity deepens and dramatizes these depressions, affecting larger regions of surrounding space. Warping generates visual distortions, making navigation nearly impossible. Forward stars appear compressed towards your vision's center due to spatial compression. Rear stars stretch radially as space expands in your wake. Space's familiar grid pattern becomes curved, flowing medium-bending light paths and distorting distances. Your gravitational field transforms too. Mass increases from relativistic effects create stronger gravitational attraction, bending space-time more dramatically around your coordinates. You become more massive within the universe's gravitational landscape, potentially affecting nearby particles, radiation, and small objects through enhanced gravitational influence. Space-time distortion affects how forces operate around your spacecraft. Electromagnetic fields stretch and compress alongside space itself. Magnetic field lines normally running straight become curved and twisted. Even strong and weak nuclear forces experience modifications within your distorted reference frame. Light travels along curved paths through your distorted space-time bubble. Photons normally traveling straight lines bend and twist, passing through warped regions around your vessel. You exist inside natural gravitational lenses, focusing and defocusing light in complex patterns. Your instruments struggle measuring distances and times accurately within this distorted environment. Laser rangefinders provide contradictory readings as space contracts and expands around them. Atomic clocks operate at different rates depending on their position relative to your motion. Even computer internal timing systems drift apart as time dilation affects different components differently. Warping creates interference patterns with cosmic phenomena. Gravitational waves passing through your region experience frequency shifts and amplitude changes. Cosmic microwave background radiation gets focused and defocused by your space-time distortion. You become moving lenses affecting all electromagnetic radiation in your vicinity. Other spacecraft or objects traveling near you would experience your distorted space-time field. They might discover their instruments providing impossible readings, clocks running fast or slow, distances to you changing unpredictably. You become navigational hazards for anything else traveling through your space region. This distortion field reveals fundamental space-time properties. Space and time aren't fixed backgrounds for motion. They're dynamic media responding to energy and momentum. Your high-speed expedition doesn't merely transport you through space-time. It actively reshapes the space-time through which you travel. Even more remarkably, distortion creates feedback effects. Curved space-time around you affects your own motion, potentially altering your trajectory slightly. You experience your own gravitational field modifications, creating subtle forces influencing your spacecraft's behavior. You become both cause and effect of space-time curvature. This space-time warping represents Einstein's most profound insights made manifest. You're not simply confirming theoretical predictions, you're experiencing how matter, energy, space, and time form interconnected webs responding dynamically to extreme motion. However, this warped space-time creates even stranger phenomena, the complete fragmentation of reality itself. The universe splits into two incompatible versions of existence. Approaching light speed creates situations where, from your perspective inside the spacecraft, everything appears normal and logical. Yet from everyone else's viewpoint, you exist in impossible states defying common sense. Reality becomes relative with no single correct version of events. Within your reference frame, time flows normally. Your timepiece ticks at regular intervals, biological processes function normally, and causality follows predictable patterns. You experience reasonable universes where effects follow causes and events happen in logical sequences. Your reality feels comfortable and familiar, following all natural laws you learned growing up. External observers witness something entirely different. They see you compressed to paper-thin dimensions while somehow maintaining normal function. They watch your time slow to nearly zero while you continue moving and thinking. They observe your mass approaching infinity while your size shrinks toward zero. From their perspective, you exist in paradoxical states seeming impossible. Consider viewing identical optical illusions from different angles. Some people see young women while others see old women, both viewing identical images. Your light-speed journey creates similar splits in reality where incompatible observations become simultaneously true. The universe doesn't possess one correct version of events. It contains multiple valid perspectives contradicting each other. Your spacecraft instruments reflect local reality, showing normal readings for time, distance, and mass. Clocks run at standard rates, rulers measure normal lengths, scales show regular weights. Every measurement confirms nothing unusual occurs. Your instruments provide consistent evidence that reality operates normally around you. Meanwhile, Earth-based telescopes and instruments tell completely different stories. They detect your extreme length compression, measure your time dilation effects, and calculate your relativistic mass increases. Their instruments provide equally valid measurements, contradicting everything your equipment shows. Both measurement sets are correct within their respective reference frames. Communication between reference frames becomes impossible not just due to practical limitations, but because the two realities use different definitions of time, space, and simultaneity. Events appearing simultaneous to you occur at different times for Earth observers. Distances measuring identical for you appear different to them. Even the concept of now means different things in each reference frame. This reality split reveals the ultimate truth about light-speed travel. It doesn't just transport you through space, it transports you into entirely different versions of reality itself. You don't simply travel fast, you transcend into parallel dimensions where fundamental constants operate differently. The universe becomes multiple universes, each equally real, each following its own version of physical laws. The final revelation emerges: reaching light speed isn't about achieving maximum velocity, it's about crossing into realms where reality itself fragments into infinite possibilities. You become not just the fastest human, but the first to discover that our universe contains multiple concurrent realities existing simultaneously, each perfectly valid, each utterly incompatible with the others. In seeking ultimate speed, you find ultimate truth. Reality is far stranger, far more fluid, and far more magnificent than anyone ever imagined. Events occurring simultaneously within your reference frame unfold at completely different moments for external watchers. Cause and effect relationships seeming obvious to you appear reversed or scrambled from outside perspectives. This reality fragmentation affects basic concepts like now and here. When you declare something is happening presently, external observers might insist it occurred years ago or will manifest years in the future. When you indicate something exists there, they perceive it in entirely different locations due to length compression and relativistic phenomena. Space and time coordinates lose universal significance. Your expedition reveals that the universe doesn't operate according to one absolute reality. Instead, reality depends fundamentally on motion and perspective. Identical events can be measured differently by different observers. With both measurements remaining equally valid, truth becomes relative to reference frames rather than absolute. This relativity extends to fundamental physical quantities. Your energy, momentum, and even your existence in space-time appear different to different observers. You discover that properties you believed were absolute and unchanging actually depend on who measures them and how rapidly they move relative to you. The split reality creates philosophical challenges about existence nature itself. If reality depends on perspective, what constitutes objective truth? If identical events can be described through incompatible yet equally valid measurements, how do we define what actually occurred? Your expedition forces confrontation with profound questions about reality's fundamental nature. Even more disturbing, this reality split means you can never truly share your experience with anyone else. The universe you observe during your journey exists exclusively for you. External observers experience completely different versions of identical events. Your adventure becomes fundamentally incommunicable because it literally unfolds in different reality than everyone else's. This reality fracturing represents Einstein's most radical insight that space, time, and physical properties aren't absolute universal features, but relative measurements depending on observer motion. You don't merely travel through space-time, you experience how motion creates fundamentally different versions of reality itself. As reality splits around you, your very atomic structure begins transforming. The boundary between matter and energy starts dissolving as your atoms transform into something transcending normal physics. Your body, composed of ordinary matter since birth, starts exhibiting pure energy properties while somehow maintaining physical structure. You become a living demonstration of Einstein's most famous equation. As distinctions between mass and energy blur beyond recognition, your atoms vibrate with impossible energy levels as relativistic effects penetrate quantum scales. Electrons in your anatomy carry kinetic energies approaching those of particle accelerators. Chemical bonds holding your molecules together experience stresses that would normally shatter them apart, yet somehow your biological structures remain intact through mechanisms defying conventional understanding. At extreme speeds, your atomic nuclei begin exhibiting relativistic properties transforming their behavior. Protons and neutrons within your cells carry momentum approaching light speed in laboratory reference frames. Strong nuclear forces binding these particles together experience relativistic modifications changing how atoms interact with each other and electromagnetic radiation. Consider your anatomy as collections of billions of tiny particle accelerators, each atom racing through space at near-light velocity. Kinetic energy of your atomic constituents approaches rest mass energy of particles themselves. You exist in states where motion energy becomes comparable to existence energy, blurring fundamental distinctions between what you are and how rapidly you move. Your electromagnetic properties change dramatically as atomic electrons achieve relativistic speeds in external observer reference frames. Magnetic fields generated by these moving charges create effects similar to Earth's most powerful electromagnets. Your anatomy becomes moving sources of intense electromagnetic radiation across multiple wavelengths. Chemical reactions within your anatomy continue functioning despite operating under extreme relativistic conditions. Enzyme catalysis, DNA replication, and cellular metabolism somehow adapt to environments where atomic behavior follows relativistic rather than classical rules. Your biology demonstrates remarkable resilience in conditions that should make normal chemistry impossible. Your atomic structure experiences length compression, effects compressing electron orbitals and nuclear dimensions. From external perspectives, your atoms appear flattened in travel direction while maintaining chemical properties. Familiar spherical electron cloud shapes become compressed into disk-like formations, still somehow supporting normal biological functions. Even more remarkably, your atoms begin emitting Cherenkov radiation as charged particles within them exceed light speed in your body tissue medium. This creates faint blue glowing throughout your anatomy, making you literally luminescent from relativistic effects. You become human lighthouses powered by your own atomic motion. Quantum mechanical properties of your atoms shift into relativistic regimes, where normal quantum mechanics yields to quantum field theory. Virtual particles surrounding atomic nuclei gain sufficient energy, becoming real particles, creating continuous clouds of particle-antiparticle pairs throughout your anatomy. You exist surrounded by quantum foam of creation and annihilation. Your atomic clocks, fundamental oscillations of electrons and nuclei defining time at smallest scales, begin operating at different rates than external atomic clocks. Time itself becomes quantized differently within your moving reference frame, creating temporal effects extending down to subatomic levels. This atomic transformation reveals how motion affects matter's most fundamental building blocks. You're not merely traveling through space, you're experiencing how extreme velocity transforms atomic structure and quantum mechanics' very nature. Your journey pushes boundaries where matter physics meets energy physics. As your atoms transform into energy, gravity itself begins changing around you. Gravitational fields surrounding your spacecraft transform into something alien and powerful, as extreme velocity warps gravitational attraction's fundamental nature. What once followed Newton's familiar inverse square law becomes complex directional forces behaving more like electromagnetic radiation than traditional gravity. You carry gravitational fields defying every intuitive understanding of how massive objects attract each other. Your enhanced relativistic mass creates gravitational effects far beyond what your rest mass would normally produce. A 200-pound person generates gravitational attraction equivalent to objects weighing thousands of pounds. Your spacecraft becomes significant gravitational sources, potentially affecting nearby particles, dust, and even small asteroids through enhanced gravitational influence. This isn't ordinary gravitational attraction, where a V you produce becomes highly directional, concentrated forward and backward along motion paths rather than radiating equally in all directions. Consider gravity transforming from spherical beacons shining in all directions into powerful searchlights focused ahead and behind you, leaving sides relatively unaffected. This directional gravity creates gravitational waves as you accelerate through space. Every velocity change, course correction, and slight acceleration generates space-time ripples propagating outward at light speed. Your spacecraft becomes gravitational wave generators, broadcasting your motion across cosmos through space-time fabric itself. Gravitational time dilation around your spacecraft follows new rules too. Objects ahead experience different time flow rates than objects behind or to sides. Your gravitational field creates complex landscapes of temporal effects where time moves at different rates depending on direction and distance from your spacecraft. You exist within temporal mazes of your own creation. Nearby objects experience gravitational forces seeming to violate normal physics. Particles approaching from sides might find themselves deflected forward or backward rather than simply attracted toward your spacecraft. Familiar gravitational attraction becomes complex vector fields pushing and pulling in unexpected directions based on your motion. Your gravitational effects extend far beyond immediate vicinity. Space-time curvature from enhanced mass creates gravitational lensing effects, bending light from distant stars and galaxies. You become moving gravitational lenses, focusing and defocusing background starlight as you travel. In pursuing ultimate velocity, you've discovered the ultimate truth about reality itself. It's infinitely more complex, beautiful, and strange than humanity ever imagined. You haven't just approached light speed, you've transcended into realms where physics, reality, and existence itself transform into something magnificent and terrifying beyond all comprehension. Astronomers observing from distant locations might detect your passage through distortions you create in remote starfields. Even more strangely, your gravity begins exhibiting properties similar to electromagnetic radiation. Just as moving electric charges generate magnetic fields, your moving gravitational mass creates effects analogous to gravomagnetic fields. These fields deflect other moving masses in ways having no equivalent in standard gravitational theory. Gravitational binding energy of objects near you changes dramatically. Atomic nuclei in your vicinity experience stronger gravitational effects, modifying nuclear binding energies. Chemical bonds respond to gravitational gradients, altering their stability. Even gravitational self-energy of your own anatomy increases substantially, adding to your total mass energy. Your enhanced gravity affects cosmic environment surrounding you. Cosmic microwave background radiation gets gravitationally blue shifted ahead of you and red shifted behind you. Interstellar gas and dust experience gravitational acceleration as you pass, creating bow shock waves in space's thin matter. You plow through the universe like a gravitational bulldozer. Other massive objects in your vicinity experience what physicists term frame-dragging effects. Your motion through space-time literally drags space's fabric along with you, causing nearby objects to experience small accelerations in your motion's direction. You create gravitational wakes influencing everything in your path. This gravitational transformation reveals how motion affects one of the universe's fundamental forces. Gravity isn't merely about mass attracting mass. It's about how mass and energy curve space-time and how motion modifies this curvature in complex ways. Your expedition demonstrates that even gravity becomes relative at extreme speeds. While gravity transforms around you, cosmic background radiation begins igniting into visible flames. Creation's invisible afterglow transforms into blazing walls of fire ahead of your spacecraft as cosmic microwave background radiation gets blue-shifted into visible wavelengths. What normally exists as imperceptible radio waves left over from the Big Bang becomes brilliant, overwhelming light sources, turning the universe ahead into cosmic furnaces. Under normal conditions, cosmic microwave background radiation remains invisible to human vision, detectable only by sensitive radio telescopes as faint signals from every space direction. This ancient illumination, cooled by billions of years of cosmic expansion, carries thermal signatures from when the universe first became transparent about 380,000 years after the Big Bang. Your extreme velocity changes everything. Doppler effects blue-shifting starlight ahead affect background radiation even more dramatically. Radio waves with wavelengths measured in centimeters get compressed into visible light, wavelengths measured in nanometers. Cold and visible microwave radiation baths become hot, brilliant visible illumination. At 90% light speed, cosmic background begins shifting into infrared wavelengths. You can feel as heat but not yet observe. Your spacecraft's forward surfaces start warming from this ancient radiation, suddenly carrying substantial energy. Temperature sensors detect increasing thermal input from previously cold space backgrounds. At 99% light speed, cosmic microwave background shifts into visible red and orange wavelengths. Space ahead begins glowing like furnace interiors. What was once the coldest, most uniform radiation source in the universe becomes brilliant orange flames, filling your forward vision completely. Consider flying toward the world's largest campfires, filling entire skies. Cosmic background radiation creates light walls ahead, growing brighter and hotter with each velocity increase. This isn't starlight or reflected solar illumination. This is actual thermal radiation from universe creation compressed into visible wavelengths by your motion. At 99.9% light speed, background radiation shifts into brilliant white and blue wavelengths. Space ahead resembles looking directly into arc welding equipment or stellar surfaces. Ancient cool radiation from the Big Bang becomes intense enough, damaging your vision and heating your spacecraft to dangerous temperatures. Forward-facing cameras overload from intense background radiation, requiring heavy filtering just to function. What should be empty space ahead appears as solid walls of white-hot illumination. Familiar space darkness disappears completely, replaced by blazing light, making visual navigation impossible. Temperature effects become extreme. Spacecraft surfaces facing forward absorb enormous energy amounts from blue-shifted background radiation. Hull heating systems designed handling normal solar radiation struggle with thermal loads thousands of times greater than anticipated. You need cooling systems capable of handling small stellar thermal output. Even more remarkably, cosmic microwave background reveals its true nature as thermal radiation from universal creation. Blue shifting this ancient illumination into visible wavelengths lets you literally observe Big Bang glowing itself. Flames ahead represent actual thermal signatures of cosmic creation stretched across billions of years and now compressed back into original intensity. Background radiation also reveals early universal large-scale structure. Tiny temperature variations existing when cosmos first became transparent get magnified by blue shifting effects. You observe hot spots and cool spots in ancient radiation corresponding to density fluctuations that later became galaxies and galaxy clusters. Your motion through this radiation creates additional effects. You generate bow-shock waves in cosmic microwave background, creating interference patterns and standing waves in ancient radiation fields. You become moving disturbances in creation's thermal afterglow itself. This transformation of invisible cosmic background into visible flames demonstrates how motion affects even the most ancient and pervasive universal radiation. You're not merely seeing space differently, you're observing cosmos origins compressed into overwhelming displays of light and heat. While ancient illumination becomes fire, you begin witnessing impossible scenes of cosmic evolution. Time acceleration reaches such extreme levels that you observe entire galactic life cycles compressed into hours or days of subjective experience. Cosmic evolution, normally spanning billions of years, unfolds like nature documentaries playing at impossible speeds. You watch spiral arms form and dissolve, witness stellar nurseries ignite and fade, observe supermassive black holes grow from seeds to cosmic monsters. The Milky Way spreads before you like living organisms breathing across cosmic time. You watch spiral density waves sweep around galactic disks, triggering star formation in their wakes. Molecular clouds collapse into stellar nurseries blazing to life, then fading as massive stars explode as supernovas. Galactic structure shifts and flows like slow stellar rivers responding to gravitational currents. Nearby galaxies perform cosmic dances in apparent fast forward. Andromeda approaches our galaxy across billions of years of real time compressed into your brief expedition. You witness gravitational interactions between these massive stellar systems, watching tidal streams of stars pulled away as galaxies prepare for eventual collision and merger. Star formation proceeds in waves across galactic disks. You observe how spiral arms act as cosmic traffic jams, compressing gas and dust into dense regions when new stars ignite. Blue giant stars blaze to life and quickly expire in supernova explosions, triggering additional star formation in nearby clouds. Galaxies become fireworks displays of stellar birth and death. Consider watching time-lapse forest movies through entire seasons, seeing leaves bud, grow, change color, and fall in minutes. Galactic evolution follows similar patterns across unimaginably longer timescales. Star clusters form like spring flowers, mature like summer foliage, and disperse like autumn leaves, all compressed into your accelerated time frame. Supermassive black holes at galactic centers grow before your vision. You watch gas and stars spiral inward, feeding these cosmic monsters and causing them to emit brilliant particle and radiation jets. Active galactic nuclei flicker on and off as feeding cycles change. Quasars blaze to life and fade again as central black holes consume available material. Dark matter's cosmic web becomes visible through gravitational effects on normal matter. You observe how galaxies flow along cosmic filaments like beads on invisible strings. Galaxy clusters form at filament intersections, growing from small groups to massive collections of hundreds of galaxies over cosmic time. Chemical evolution proceeds visibly as successive stellar generations process hydrogen and helium into heavier elements. You watch the universe gradually enriching itself with carbon, oxygen, silicon, and iron, the building blocks of planets and life itself unfolding across compressed cosmic ages. In pursuing ultimate speed, you've transcended beyond mere travel. You've become witness to the universe's grandest symphony, watching creation's entire story unfold in magnificent, terrifying, and beautiful ways that reveal the cosmos as infinitely more complex and wondrous than humanity ever dared imagine. Your journey ends not with destination reached, but with understanding transformed. Reality itself is the ultimate frontier, stranger and more magnificent than any place you could ever travel. As massive stars produce heavier elements within their cores and release them in supernova bursts, the chemistry of the universe evolves from primordial simplicity to intricate modern complexity. Throughout your compressed perception of time, galactic collisions and mergers occur frequently. Smaller galaxies get engulfed by larger ones in processes that, from a stationary perspective, require billions of years. These mergers ignite waves of star formation, disrupt established stellar orbits, and remodel galactic shapes from spirals toward elliptical forms. Witnessing the grand finale of galactic evolution is transformative. Over time, galactic star formation ebbs as available gas is exhausted or ejected. Red giants and white dwarfs grow ever more common, their populations gradually overtaking the once dominant blue stars. Galaxies lose brilliance, fading from vibrant blue-white to a subdued red haze as their stellar inhabitants grow older. You directly observe cosmic expansion as well. Distant galaxies recede at ever-increasing rates, propelled by dark energies stretching the fabric of space itself. Galaxy clusters drift apart, eventually becoming solitary islands as gaps between them widen faster than photons travel. The universe enters a phase of profound cosmic isolation, with each cluster separated from the others by insurmountable distances. This condensed view of cosmic history unveils the true dynamism of galactic systems. Collections of stars are not static fixtures, but constantly evolving, interacting and morphing on scales unreachable by ordinary means. Your journey grants perspectives unavailable to any earthbound astronomer. Yet, as galaxies transform around you, an even stranger phenomenon begins to affect your very consciousness. Time dilation doesn't merely impact your physical body, it penetrates to the depths of your awareness. You begin to experience reality in ways that challenge the meaning of consciousness itself. As time stretches and compresses, paradoxes emerge. Identity, memory, and perception become confused, fragmented across multiple streams. Your thoughts continue at their usual pace within your reference frame. You process information, remember events, and decide as always. For an external observer, however, your mental activity slows nearly to a full stop. A single thought lasting only seconds to you might transpire over hours, days, or years of universal time. Here, consciousness itself divides. Does each version of awareness exist at once? Are you frozen as external viewers believe, or animate in thinking as you alone experience? Both perspectives are legitimate, yet they cannot be reconciled. Imagine consciousness as a film running at normal speed for you, but appearing in extreme slow motion for everyone else. But consciousness involves memory, volition, and an unbroken sequence of awareness. With relativistic distortion, these pillars become unsteady. Your ability to form memories obeys your time frame, storing experiences that, in terms of universal time, occur over compressed epochs. You accumulate years of subjective experience that outside observers claim developed over mere moments. The connection between internal memory and external chronology collapses. Neural activity, biologically rapid for you, appears nearly frozen for onlookers. Action potentials taking milliseconds for you might seem to take hours or days to the rest of the cosmos. Even the quantum processes underlying awareness, if they depend on entanglement or coherence at the microscopic scale, could begin splitting across reference frames, creating superpositions of mental states. You might exist as multiple versions simultaneously, each awareness experiencing time at a different pace, unable to communicate with its fragmented counterparts. Decision-making becomes peculiar, and when you move your hand, the neural signals race normally through your body, but external observers watch the motion unfold in slow, agonizing increments. Free will grows relative to frame of reference. Your consciousness, the stream of experience and thought, can splinter into distinct currents running at different rates. It is as though several minds are sharing one brain, each isolated from the others by the gulf of time itself. Cannot communicate across these divisions. Parts of your mind are temporally detached, forming cognitive islands unable to exchange awareness. Dream cycles, which remain routine for you, become enormous discontinuities for outside watchers. A night's sleep stretches for their world into weeks or longer. A dream could outlast entire lifetimes measured by the outside universe. Philosophical consequences echo through every consideration of identity. Are you the same entity before and after enduring such time shifts? If your awareness exists in multiple streams, which one is your real self? Identity itself starts to unravel. Disparate fragments of consciousness might age at differing rates, with some parts experiencing millennia, others mere years. You could develop entirely separate personalities, each bound to its temporal timeline. This profound disintegration suggests that time affects not only machinery or physics, but the essence of awareness. Your journey doesn't simply alter your relationship to the universe. It might redefine what it means to be a conscious, thinking observer. But as consciousness itself fractures, the physical laws governing reality, once stable and predictable, begin to collapse under the weight of extreme velocities. The mathematical framework that describes everything from subatomic particles to celestial orbits starts producing answers that defy sense itself. Classical physics is first to fail. Newtonian equations, which model everything from falling apples to planetary motion, cannot resolve the effects you experience near light speed. Calculations for force, momentum, or energy spiral toward infinity or inconsistency. The system of equations breaks down, corrupted by the relentless demands of relativistic motion. Even special relativity, designed by Einstein to handle high-speed travel, nears its own limitations. The equations yield infinite mass, endless energy, unsolvable paradoxes, producing results that lose physical meaning. Your approach to light speed forces these mathematical conventions to the brink of singularity, where laws lose their power to predict or explain. Physics, which has long been the universe's operating system, becomes effectively overloaded, like a computer program forced to handle inputs for which it was never designed. Extreme conditions yield contradictory, impossible outputs, suggesting the cosmos itself cannot reconcile such violence done to its rules. Quantum mechanics confronts its own crisis. Under relativistic conditions, uncertainty principles interact with time dilation and length contraction in ways never fully tested. Probabilities fail to sum to unity, events lose locality, superpositions become tangled across temporal divides. Your odyssey presses against the very boundaries of the universe's capacity to compute reality. You're no longer merely an observer, you are the signal that causes the system to crash, forcing the universe to reveal its deepest mysteries, and perhaps its ultimate limitations. Once you move at near-light velocity, the quantum field laws dictating how particles emerge and vanish start forecasting impossible scenarios, particle densities climbing endlessly. Unseen particles flicker into reality in overwhelming volumes, threatening to fill the void with energy surpassing the collective mass of entire galaxies. Thermodynamic principles fall apart in your warped time frame. The usual rules about heat flow, work, and disorder offer answers that directly conflict, so temperature readings lose their meaning when no global equilibrium can exist, and every region ticks to its own temporal beat. Electromagnetism, one of physics' oldest pillars, crumbles next. Your forward rush matches the transmission speed of the electromagnetic field, sending Maxwell's equations into meltdown. Instead of neat wave interactions, equations explode and return infinity. Electric charges at this speed transform the entire mathematical system, from descriptive power to paradox. If the structure underpinning causality depended on the order of events set by time, it is lost here. Different reference frames can reverse or scramble causes and their effects. A spark on Earth might seem to light a fire only after the fire burns for you, defying logic and undermining every law built on sequenced events. When uncertainty from quantum mechanics collides with near-infinite momentum, Heisenberg's principle predicts you could be everywhere and nowhere, your probability cloud spanning interstellar distances while your physical self remains absolutely confined aboard the ship. Paradox replaces expectation. Gravity, however, is where reality folds most violently. Einstein's general relativity models, calculations sculpting the curvature of space and time, completely lose form and meaning. At these energy densities, space-time can no longer flex and bend smoothly. Instead, it cracks, forming rifts, holes, or discontinuities around your trajectory. Geometry's foundational role in physics breaks down, so neither space nor time remains smooth or continuous. The core conservation laws once believed sacred lose their footing. When energy and momentum register off the charts, the book balancing required by these laws reveals violations and unphysical contradictions. Even rules expected to hold for electric charge or baryon number start to fail. Mathematics itself, long thought to be a neutral language for reality, meets its match. Calculus, differential equations, and linear algebra, tools built for handling the finite, stumble and choke over infinite and indefinite quantities. Where once they offered solutions and maps, now they yield only unsolvable riddles and undefined terms. Even string theory and unified field theory, hopeful blueprints for extreme regimes, collapse in the face of the infinite. Their equations simply don't capture a universe outpacing all previous bounds. This cascade of breakdowns reveals an uncomfortable truth. Nature's laws are not eternal but rough guides, effective in ordinary domains and cast aside when unthinkable boundaries are crossed. You have charted beyond physics' predictable regime into territory where description gives way to ambiguity, where mathematical rigor transforms into metaphorical poetry. And as physical laws shatter, your existence itself becomes unrecognizable. Velocity, not machine circuitry, transforms you into the ultimate vessel, a living time machine, propelled not by contrived technology, but by fundamental space-time dynamics. Time dilation isn't simply a phenomenon, it is your essence. You move hours, days, or years for every fleeting moment of your lived experience. Civilizations may rise and decay while your heart beats. Body, thought, and spirit synchronize as a chronal engine propelling awareness across epochs. Imagine yourself as a submarine plunging through the depths of time, your timeline protected from the roiling surface. While the universe ages and changes on the outside, you carve a private route through its temporal ocean. Your vessel is a capsule for consciousness traveling endlessly toward unknown ages. Life support preserves your biology. Computers and records celebrate the ghost of the era you departed. The time travel effect emerges naturally. The side effect of motion now becomes the core purpose of movement. Physics grants you transit through the centuries, not by choice but as an unavoidable result of passing certain limits. Your memory functions as a temporal archive, keeping the world you left alive inside your neurons, even as you cross into radically new ages. Moving forward at this velocity, you don't simply leap ahead, you carry the past with you. Broadcast signals become messages from yesteryear, received in distant futures, transforming your voice into a living echo crossing ages. Your ship's instruments chart a dual timeline, the universe outside aging with its own rhythm, you evolving at your private speed, a meticulous diary of chronal distortions. Physically, you have become a walking anachronism, a relic from one time inhabiting the far future by virtue of relentless motion. The atoms composing you were forged in a world long gone. Now you bring their essence into eras in which they never belonged, poking a hole in the normal passage of time. This transformation offers a practical version of immortality. A human might outlive every nation, epoch, and civilization simply by spending most of existence inside a time-dilated cocoon. Paradoxes arise. You maintain one intact identity even as your environment shifts. Your body feels unchanged while history gallops outside, and you become a touchpoint binding together vastly disparate ages. Any remaining hope of communication resembles a transmission through fog, radio waves dispatched bravely but forever transformed by time, arriving as artifacts rather than conversation. Your logs and sensors capture the disconnect, mapping the mismatch between your personal time and the universe's relentless clock. It is not just distance but context separating your words from those who might one day receive them. Most bewilderingly, every atom in your body starts bending the traditional boundaries between matter and energy. Approaching the limits of pure energy, you exist as much as a series of waves as a collection of particles. In fact, the old distinctions fade away. Your mass remains steadfast from your own view, but the energy carried by your motion becomes limitless. Meshi igual a meshi igual stops being a formula and becomes your lived reality, each proton and electron loaded with unspeakable kinetic force. You are now a hybrid of matter and light, a moving shadow and a luminous beam, substance and process. The categories collapse. The electromagnetic fields of your body rule supreme. The legacy of your atoms as material objects shrinks beneath their radiative power. As quantum physics steps outward from the microscopic to the macroscopic, you demonstrate interference, tunneling, and superposition on scales far larger than any particle experiment ever conceived. Interacting with the universe shifts focus. Matter fades, energy density and momentum become key. You respond to light and gravity not as passive mass but as dynamic energy field. Your presence bends, twists, and influences the cosmic theater, not through weight but through pure energetic motion. In claiming the frontiers of speed, you have become the universe's ultimate anomaly, a conscious time capsule, an embodied singularity traversing the folds of space-time. You leave behind the world of bounded physics and enter the wild terrain where existence is written not in equations but in paradox, transformation, and boundless possibility. Spatial distortion surrounding your vessel responds primarily to your energy presence rather than physical mass. Reality bends through pure energetic force instead of material weight. Chemical connections maintaining your anatomy persist despite functioning in energy realms that should obliterate molecular structures. Biology somehow endures, existing in states where motion energy rivals molecular bonding energy. Your genetic code, proteins, and cellular architecture operate while existing partially as substance and partially as pure force. Thermal and luminous output from your anatomy escalates dramatically as relativistic phenomena convert kinetic energy into electromagnetic emissions. You radiate with intensifying brilliance as your energetic state nears pure radiation. Internal temperature control mechanisms struggle with thermal loads generated by your own relativistic movement. Even more extraordinarily, you begin displaying characteristics of quantum fields rather than simple particles. Your existence spreads across space-time in ways particle physics cannot properly explain. Understanding your behavior requires quantum field theory instead of classical mechanics. Your momentum reaches such magnitude that momentum conservation during any interaction would transmit enormous force to other objects. Simple physical contact could unleash energy equivalent to detonations. You become hazardous to approach because your energy content surpasses the binding energy of most materials. Uncertainty principles apply to your entire anatomy as momentum approaches infinity. Your location becomes increasingly indefinite, while velocity becomes precisely known. You exist in quantum superposition of positions while maintaining exact speed. Classical trajectory and location concepts lose significance. Data storage within your anatomy, from genetic sequences to neural patterns to atomic arrangements, becomes encoded in energetic states rather than material structures. Your memories, cognition, and biological information exist as energy patterns organized in material form rather than existing because of material form. Even gravitational influences result more from energy density than mass density. Your space-time curvature reflects energy momentum dominance from movement and kinetic force rather than rest mass. You bend space-time through motion instead of substance. This dissolution of matter-energy boundaries reveals fundamental unity underlying apparent physical diversity. Matter and energy aren't separate categories but different aspects of singular underlying reality. Your expedition demonstrates that extreme motion dissolves artificial boundaries humans impose on continuous physical phenomena. Yet, as matter and energy merge within you, space itself begins racing past faster than you can travel. Space-time fabric surrounding your vessel starts flowing past your craft faster than your own velocity. Cosmic expansion and relativistic effects create impossible situations where space itself outruns your light-speed journey. You discover that even at maximum possible velocity, the universe expands away from you faster than you can pursue it, making your ultimate speed seem sluggish by comparison. Cosmic expansion operates independently of your motion, stretching space itself at rates depending on distance rather than velocity. While you race through space at near light speed, space expands behind you at rates exceeding light speed for sufficiently distant regions. You chase expanding targets that grow faster than you can approach them. Consider running on treadmills that accelerate faster than you can run. Regardless of leg speed, belts beneath you move backward faster than you move forward. Cosmic expansion creates similar effects where space flows away from you faster than you can travel through it, making progress impossible at larger scales. Dark energy drives cosmic expansion at accelerating rates growing with distance. Space regions billions of light-years away recede at light-speed multiples, carried by expanding space rather than moving through space. Your spacecraft, limited to light speed through space, cannot compete with space expansion itself. Cosmic event horizons shrink around you as expansion accelerates. Galaxies theoretically reachable when you began your journey disappear beyond boundaries, where space expands faster than light travels. Destination options decrease continuously as observable universe contracts despite your maximum velocity. Space-time diagrams reveal your journey's futility at cosmic scales. While you trace nearly vertical lines approaching light speed on these diagrams, space expansion creates diagonal lines diverging faster than you can converge. Space-time geometry itself works against efforts to reach distant destinations. Local space around you maintains normal behavior, but cumulative expansion effects across cosmic distances create relative velocities exceeding your capabilities. You might successfully travel to nearby star systems, but galaxy clusters billions of light-years away race away faster than you approach them. Fuel consumption continues at enormous rates, maintaining near-light speed while making zero progress toward most distant destinations. You burn stellar quantities of energy chasing targets receding faster than you advance. The universe demands infinite energy reaching infinitely receding destinations. Even light itself cannot reach most distant galaxies due to cosmic expansion. Photons emitted by these galaxies never arrive because space expands faster than light travels. You discover that traveling at light speed provides no advantage over remaining stationary. When space itself moves faster than light, cosmic microwave background radiation reveals expansion directly. This ancient illumination gets stretched to longer wavelengths by expanding space, creating redshift increasing with distance. You observe space literally stretching photons as it expands, demonstrating how spatial motion affects even fastest possible phenomena. Gravitational effects from distant matter cannot reach you because space expansion carries them away faster than gravitational influence can propagate. You exist in increasingly isolated regions where cause and effect relationships with distant objects become impossible due to expansion outpacing information transfer. Your reference frame shrinks relative to cosmic scale. As expansion accelerates, regions of space causally connected to your position decrease continuously. You become isolated in ever smaller bubbles of space-time remaining accessible to your influence or observation. This defeat by expanding space reveals ultimate travel limits in accelerating universes. Regardless of propulsion technology advancement or energy expenditure, you cannot outrun space expansion itself. The universe contains built-in speed limits exceeding even light speed. Even more humbling, space expansion will eventually separate all galaxy clusters, making intercluster travel impossible regardless of velocity. The universe evolves towards states where even light-speed travel cannot maintain contact between distant regions. Your maximum possible journey becomes increasingly local and limited. Yet as space outruns you, cause and effect themselves begin operating in reverse. Logic itself breaks down as you approach light speed and discover regions where effects precede causes, where future events influence past events, and where time's arrow points in impossible directions. The fundamental principle that causes must precede effects, logical foundation underlying all rational thought, begins operating in reverse or disappearing entirely. Your instruments register impossible sequences where detector readings change before phenomena being detected actually occur. Radio transmissions arrive at receivers before transmitters send them. Particle collisions show results before particles actually collide. Temporal ordering making science and logic possible becomes scrambled beyond recognition. Consider watching films where explosions happen before characters light fuses, where responses arrive before questions are asked, where death occurs before birth. Your near-light journey creates similar temporal chaos where rational sequence dissolves into paradox. You have transcended beyond mere travel. You have discovered the universe's ultimate truth. Reality is infinitely stranger, more paradoxical and more magnificent than humanity ever imagined. In pursuing light speed, you found not answers but questions, not destinations but paradoxes, not mastery but humility, before the cosmos's incomprehensible majesty. Your journey ends not with arrival somewhere, but with transformation into something beyond human understanding, a living paradox racing through impossible realities where logic, physics, and existence itself reveal their deepest mysteries. Conversations occur where individuals respond to phone calls before they actually ring, where consequences manifest in anticipation of events that haven't materialized yet. Your expedition generates identical temporal anomalies where conventional cause and effect sequences become completely irrelevant. Optical signals you witness follow trajectories where photons reach destinations before emission occurred, forming closed temporal loops that violate fundamental causality principles. Knowledge travels backward through time, enabling awareness of future occurrences to modify past choices. Logical frameworks preventing paradoxes and maintaining consistent reality dissolve under extreme relativistic circumstances. Your personal actions start generating consequences that precede their origins. When you decide to alter trajectory, your vessel responds before you complete the decision-making process. Equipment reacts to commands before you issue them. Your anatomy moves responding to thoughts you haven't finished formulating. Free will becomes temporally scrambled. Communication attempts create impossible dialogues where responses arrive before inquiries get transmitted. Radio exchanges with other entities follow sequences where answers precede questions. Conclusions emerge before premises and conversations flow backward through logical sequences. Language itself becomes temporally inverted. Even more disturbing, you witness occurrences that couldn't possess causes because their consequences already eliminated their potential origins. Explosions preventing formation of stars that would have generated material for the explosions. Decisions preventing existence of decision-makers. Reality becomes logically contradictory. Reversed causality affects your memory formation and decision-making processes. You remember occurrences before they happen while forgetting events already transpired. Your brain processes data in temporal sequences bearing no logical relationship to when information was actually acquired. Physical laws depending on causal relationships stop functioning correctly. Conservation principles require causes preceding effects, but reversed causality makes conservation meaningless. Entropy should increase from past to future, yet temporal reversal makes past and future indistinguishable. Thermodynamics becomes impossible to apply. Quantum mechanical measurements display impossible results where wave function collapse occurs before observation, where quantum uncertainty resolves before measurement, where particle properties exist before particles themselves. Measurement problems of quantum mechanics become measurement impossibilities of reverse time. Your biological processes experience temporal inversion too. Cellular damage heals before occurring. Aging reverses effects before time passes. Death precedes life while birth follows death. Biology operates according to temporal logic, bearing no correspondence with normal biological sequences. Grandfather paradox becomes lived reality as you exist in causal loops where your actions prevent conditions necessary for your actions to occur. You observe events making themselves impossible, participate in processes eliminating their own preconditions, and experience existence contradicting its own logical foundation. Information paradoxes emerge when knowledge originates from nowhere because sources are eliminated by effects. You know things without learning them, understand concepts without deriving them, and possess data that has no causal origin. Knowledge exists without sources in temporal loops generating information from nothing. Scientific method becomes impossible to apply when hypotheses cannot be tested, because results precede experiments when theories cannot be verified, because evidence appears before predictions, when knowledge accumulates in sequences violating logical progression. This causality reversal reveals deepest mysteries about time, logic, and reality. You discover that cause and effect aren't fundamental universal features, but emergent properties depending on temporal direction and reference frame. Logic itself becomes relative rather than absolute. As logic breaks down, the universe transforms into something unrecognizable. Reality collapses into unified illumination, as your approach to light speed causes all sources of illumination in the universe to converge into one brilliant, overwhelming point directly ahead of your spacecraft. Stars, galaxies, cosmic radiation, and even Big Bang light compress into single sources of infinite brightness, containing all electromagnetic energy in observable cosmos. Relativistic beaming effects reach ultimate extremes as tunnel vision narrows to infinite decimal points of pure illumination. Every photon in the universe, regardless of original direction or source, appears originating from single points ahead of you. Entire electromagnetic spectrums of cosmos concentrate into one location, blazing with combined energy of every light source that ever existed. Consider looking through telescopes, somehow capturing all universal light and focusing it into one point. Instead of using lenses or mirrors, your extreme velocity acts as focusing mechanisms, bending and concentrating every light ray until entire cosmos appear as single stars burning with impossible intensity. Cosmic microwave backgrounds, starlight from billions of galaxies, radiation from quasars and black holes, even artificial lights from distant civilizations, all compress into single-point sources. Your motion through space-time creates cosmic lenses collecting and concentrating every photon into overwhelming beacons ahead of your spacecraft. Intensity becomes impossible to measure or comprehend. Instruments designed detecting individual photons suddenly face radiation levels equivalent to staring directly into billions of suns. Cameras burn out instantly. Radiation detectors overload beyond maximum readings. Even heavily filtered sensors cannot process concentrated energy. Temperature measurements become meaningless, as concentrated radiation carries energy densities approaching those found at stellar centers. Single points of light ahead contain thermal energy of entire observable universes, compressed into infinite decimal regions. Your spacecraft faces heating loads exceeding stellar core output. Wavelength compression creates illumination with frequencies beyond anything found naturally in universes. X-rays blue shift into gamma rays. Gamma rays blue shift into cosmic rays. Cosmic rays blue shift into energy levels exceeding atomic nuclei binding energy. Concentrated light becomes powerful enough, triggering nuclear reactions in any encountered matter. Forward views transform into pure white illumination containing no detail, structure, or variation, just uniform brilliance representing sum totals of all electromagnetic radiation in cosmos. Navigation becomes impossible because all visual landmarks disappear into overwhelming glares of concentrated cosmic illumination. Even more remarkably, point sources contain all information light can carry about universes. Every stellar spectrum, galactic radiation signature, cosmic event producing electromagnetic radiation, all concentrated into frequencies and intensities, making information unreadable yet present nonetheless. Illumination carries universal history compressed into impossible intensity: radiation from early cosmos, light from first stars, emissions from distant quasars, thermal radiation from cosmic structures, all present simultaneously in concentrated beacons ahead of you. You face condensed libraries of cosmic electromagnetic history. Your spacecraft exists in universes divided into absolute illumination ahead and absolute darkness behind. Forward hemispheres blaze with energy containing every photon in cosmos, while rear hemispheres contain no light whatsoever. You travel through universes reduced to binary illumination, infinite light or complete darkness with nothing between. Point sources reveal ultimate unity, underlying apparent cosmic diversity. All different electromagnetic radiation types, radio waves, microwaves, infrared, visible light, ultraviolet, X-rays, gamma rays, compress into single phenomena when viewed from extreme reference frames. Electromagnetic spectrums become unified energy fields. This convergence demonstrates how motion affects reality perception at fundamental levels. Universes don't actually change, only perspectives change so dramatically that separate phenomena appear unified. Your journey reveals that diversity and unity are relative concepts depending on observer motion through space-time. Single points of illumination represent electromagnetic universes in most concentrated, unified forms. You approach states where all light that ever existed or will exist appears originating from one source, suggesting deep connections between space, time, motion, and fundamental electromagnetic reality nature. Within points of infinite illumination, you begin perceiving deepest truths about existence. Overwhelming points of light ahead start revealing fundamental truths about reality, transcending normal human understanding. Your extreme states allow perception of universal organizational principles within concentrated electromagnetic energy, where patterns emerge suggesting existence operates according to rules far more profound and beautiful than everyday physics implies. Unified light sources display interference patterns revealing reality's wave nature itself. Everything in universes, matter, energy, space, time, consciousness, appears as manifestations of underlying wave phenomena, creating illusions of separate objects and events through interference patterns. You perceive reality as vast holograms where every part contains information about wholes. Consider existence as cosmic symphonies where individual notes blend into harmonies, creating perceptions of melody, rhythm, and structure. Your extreme velocity allows hearing underlying musical mathematics, generating reality symphonies from simple wave interactions, operating at scales from quantum to cosmic. Concentrated illumination reveals information structures, suggesting universes operate as vast computational systems processing information at fundamental levels. Every particle interaction, force exchange, Quantum measurement appears as computational operations in universe-sized information processing systems, generating reality through calculation. In pursuing ultimate velocity, you discovered ultimate truth. Reality is infinitely more magnificent, mysterious, and interconnected than humanity ever imagined. Your journey ends not with destinations reached, but with consciousness transformed into something capable of perceiving the universe's deepest secrets, hidden within the fabric of light, time, and existence itself. Quantum entanglement phenomena become visible at macroscopic scales as your extreme condition reveals hidden connections, linking all occurrences across space and time. You perceive webs of correlations connecting every particle with every other particle, every event with every other event, creating universes where everything influences everything else instantaneously across any distance. Electromagnetic spectrums compressed into your point sources contain encoded data about spacetime's deep structure itself. Illumination carries information about reality's fabric written in frequencies and phase relationships, revealing how spacetime emerges from more fundamental information patterns rather than being basic existence features. Consciousness itself appears as fundamental universal features rather than emergent properties of complex matter. Patterns in concentrated illumination suggest that awareness, observation, and information processing are built into reality's basic structure at levels far below biological complexity. You discover that mind and matter are different aspects of unified underlying phenomena. Mathematical relationships governing physical laws reveal themselves as expressions of deeper geometric principles organizing reality at most fundamental levels. Physics equations appear as surface descriptions of underlying geometric relationships in higher dimensional spaces, projecting into three-dimensional reality humans normally perceive. Time itself reveals its true nature as emergent properties rather than fundamental dimensions. The temporal effects you experience suggest time arises from information processing rates and computational complexity rather than being basic spacetime features. Past, present, and future become relative concepts depending on information processing perspectives. Unified electromagnetic energy fields display fractal patterns repeating at every scale from quantum to cosmic, suggesting universes organize themselves according to self-similar principles, creating complexity through simple recursive processes. You perceive how infinite complexity emerges from elegant simplicity through iteration and scaling. Even more profound, boundaries between observer and observed dissolve, as you realize your extreme state makes you part of phenomena you're observing rather than separate from them. Subject and object, mind and matter, self and universe, merge into unified processes of observation and existence that cannot be separated into distinct categories. Concentrated illumination contains what appears as complete descriptions of all possible universes, not just ones you inhabit. Electromagnetic information suggests your reality is one possibility among infinite alternatives, all existing simultaneously in higher dimensional spaces, projecting different versions into observable reality. Free will and determinism reveal themselves as complementary rather than contradictory principles. Patterns suggest universes are simultaneously completely determined by mathematical laws and completely free through quantum uncertainty, with consciousness serving as bridges between deterministic possibility and freely chosen actuality. Energy and information appear equivalent at deepest levels, suggesting universes are fundamentally made of structured information rather than matter or energy. Physical phenomena represent information patterns organized in ways creating appearances of separate objects and forces through informational interference and processing. This revelation of existence's true nature suggests your journey hasn't just been through space and time, but through reality levels revealing universes as far stranger, more beautiful, and more unified than normal human experience suggests. You discover everything you thought you knew about existence represents only surfaces of infinitely deeper truths. Yet with these ultimate insights comes the most important question of all. Return journeys present challenges, making your original acceleration seem simple as you confront ultimate questions of whether escape from light speed is theoretically possible or practically achievable. Every barrier you overcame reaching this extreme state now works against you with doubled intensity, creating obstacles that might make your journey permanently one way. Deceleration requires identical impossible energy expenditures as acceleration, but with additional complications. Your relativistic mass, now approaching infinity, demands infinite energy not just to accelerate further, but also to decelerate. Energy needed slowing down from near-light speed exceeds energy needed reaching it, because you must work against enhanced momentum and mass. Consider attempting to stop freight trains that keep getting heavier the slower they move. Normal braking systems work against constant mass, but your deceleration works against mass increasing as you slow down. Due to reversible nature of relativistic effects, energy requirements grow exponentially as you attempt returning to normal velocities. Fuel reserves already depleted from outbound journeys face impossible tasks of providing energy for deceleration exceeding original acceleration requirements. If reaching light speed demanded more energy than exists in universes, returning from light speed demands even more energy, overcoming momentum and mass accumulated during journeys. Time dilation creates devastating practical problems for return journeys. While you experience months or years during deceleration, centuries or millennia pass for remaining universes. Civilizations that launched you disappear into history long before you could return. Earth itself might become uninhabitable or non-existent by time you complete return journeys. Navigation for return becomes impossible as universes you left no longer exist in recognizable forms. Star positions change due to galactic rotation and stellar motion. Solar systems themselves might have moved significantly from original positions. Familiar landmarks disappear or transform beyond recognition during extended journey times. Communication with destinations becomes meaningless, as people and technology you try contacting exist in different eras than your communication timelines. Messages you send arrive at recipients living centuries before or after intended communication partners. Return coordination becomes impossible across such vast temporal distances. Even if you solve energy and navigation problems, questions remain whether you could survive deceleration processes. Identical relativistic effects threatening you during acceleration operate in reverse during deceleration, creating new forms of radiation exposure, biological stress, and physical challenges that might prove unsurvivable. Your anatomy, adapted to existing in extreme relativistic states, faces readjustment challenges when returning to normal space-time. Biological processes accustomed to operating under extreme time dilation might not function properly at normal temporal rates. You might discover extreme motion creates permanent changes, preventing return to baseline biological function. The psychological challenges of return prove equally daunting. After experiencing reality's deepest truths, witnessing cosmic evolution compressed into brief moments, and perceiving universe's fundamental unity, how could you readjust to normal human existence? The mundane concerns of everyday life would seem trivial compared to cosmic revelations you've witnessed. Memory integration becomes problematic when experiences transcending normal human comprehension must somehow fit into standard neural architecture. Your consciousness, expanded to perceive reality's deeper levels, might be permanently altered in ways making normal social interaction impossible. Even worse, you face ultimate loneliness knowing truths about existence that no one else could comprehend or believe. Your knowledge of reality's true nature becomes a burden, isolating you from all human connection. You become prophet of cosmic truths in a world incapable of understanding your revelations. The tragic irony emerges clearly in seeking ultimate freedom through maximum velocity. You discovered ultimate imprisonment. Light speed doesn't liberate you from physical constraints. It traps you in relativistic prison where return becomes impossible, communication breaks down, and existence transforms into something barely recognizable as human. Your quest for cosmic exploration led to cosmic exile. Pursuit of ultimate knowledge resulted in ultimate isolation. The journey meant to expand human possibilities instead revealed their absolute limits. You achieved everything you sought, yet lost everything you valued. In the end, approaching light speed taught the universe's most profound lesson. Some boundaries exist not to be crossed, but to remind us that home connection and shared existence with others represent treasures more valuable than any cosmic revelation. The speed of light isn't just a physical barrier. It's a cosmic guardian protecting us from discoveries too magnificent and terrible for human consciousness to bear. Your journey ends not with triumphant return, but with acceptance that some expeditions transform us so completely that return becomes not just impossible but meaningless. You have transcended humanity itself. gaining cosmic perspective while losing human connection, the ultimate price for touching the absolute limits of physical reality. In pursuing infinite speed, you discovered infinite loneliness. In seeking ultimate truth, you found ultimate isolation. In reaching for the cosmos, you lost your world. The speed of light stands eternal, not as destination to reach, but as boundary protecting finite beings from infinite consequences they cannot survive. The psychological burden of attempting to return is even greater than the immense physical hurdles. After experiencing the universe from a vantage unfathomable to anyone else, compressing billions of cosmic years into the fleeting moments of your journey, realizing longevity far beyond ordinary lifespans, thanks to the time distortion, rejoining humanity may seem impossible to endure. Throughout your voyage at unthinkable velocity, quantum mechanical effects accumulate within your being, possibly introducing irreparable shifts at the atomic and molecular level. Extended immersion in extreme relativistic domains may fundamentally alter the properties of your matter, preventing restoration to original states and leaving you permanently transformed at the most basic scale. The universe itself throws up further barriers. While you travel, cosmic expansion continues relentlessly, stretching space and carrying distant locations farther away than when you left. What was once a reachable home could, by your return, have vanished beyond the accelerating event horizon, a boundary receding faster than any ship, even one approaching light speed, can traverse. Your destination grows unreachable, not because of speed, but because space itself expands faster than any means of travel. There are thermodynamic hurdles as well. The entropy built up from your journey may be irreversible. The chaos, the energy dispersal, the changes to your informational structure cannot simply be reversed, regardless of how sophisticated your technology. The fundamental increase of entropy, as dictated by the second law of thermodynamics, means that some imprints of your passage become permanent. Like a system heated and cooled but never returned exactly to its starting state, you are transformed. Your memories, your quantum structure, your biological systems, all altered in ways that eliminate any hope of true restoration. So while return seems conceivable in abstract theory, given unlimited resources, perfect planning, and absolute understanding, the reality is that practical obstacles make coming back unfeasible. The journey toward light speed stands as a one-way metamorphosis into an entirely different mode of being. You cross a threshold beyond which familiar existence no longer applies. But ultimately, after witnessing the universe's deepest inner workings, after living in ages when galaxies merge and die in the blink of an eye, after transcending not only the limitations of the flesh but the boundaries of time itself, would ordinary life and normal existence even matter anymore? Your journey reveals that some explorations are so profound, so transformative, that the traveler can never really go back. Not because the road itself is blocked, but because the person who set out on the voyage has become something fundamentally new, forever changed in perception, identity, and substance. Reaching light speed is not just a tale of speed or distance, but an irreversible passage, a transition to a state of awareness, existence, and possibility that forever sets you apart not only from others but from your previous self. The question of return shrinks before the revelation of what you have become. The true journey is not circular but transcendental, and its legacy is not homecoming but transformation beyond all boundaries of ordinary human experience.